47 and counting. The commanders-in-chief who have served this great nation are being celebrated this month. Let's welcome our guest who has dedicated himself to our American history, Eric Barnes, CEO of Historyman and founder of Historyman Comics and the Historyman Podcast. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. So would you agree that a lot of even adults don't really know their American history these days?
Well, we're so concentrated on what's going on in our life at that moment.
Indeed.
That we have a tendency to forget what happened in the past and learn from the past.
It's true.
And gather some of that insight and really some of the things when I like to concentrate on the American Revolution. Some of those same things that they were fighting for during the American Revolution, some of those same views of government, views of how an individual and government collide or come together, are some of the same questions and conflicts that we have even today.
It is true. It doesn't just come out of thin air, right? So it's good to know these things. Where did your passion for history come from, and why did you decide to dedicate your career to reflecting on American history?
Well, I'm a former cop, and so everything that I did as a law enforcement officer had its roots in the Constitution. We had to go about our day, and if we were to make charges on somebody as an individual, they're innocent until proven guilty. Right? They have a right to confront their accusers. Right, in court, and those rights that we have within the Constitution and the rights that you have in our society today all came from the Revolutionary War.
Indeed, yeah.
So then you go, well, why did Joe Blow, who lived on a farm out in the middle of rural South Carolina, why did he go to war against Great Britain? Why did he go to war against England? So those questions were at the heart of why I delved into this, and it's kind of a hobby. It's also a way to get away from, or to get out from underneath my wife, right? So
she's actually not far from where we're standing right now.
She would echo that. She wouldn't want to see me every day. She wanted me to be moving about. She didn't want me under her nose all the time.
Let's talk about President's Day, shall we?
Yes.
So we are celebrating every president that has come before and currently is, and the sacrifices that they've made. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the history of President's Day.
Well, the history goes back to, obviously, George Washington. And if George Washington hadn't been held in such high regard, we probably wouldn't even have President's Day, right? So
it's actually his birthday.
It's actually his birthday. And even back then, there was a struggle in the old world between Catholicism and Protestantism, the Catholic Church and the King of England, the Julian calendar, which England had, and the Gregorian calendar of the Roman Catholic Church. So technically, George Washington was born on February 11th, 1732. And then over the course of his lifetime, he lost a year and 11 days, and it became February 22nd.
I see.
And he was held in such high regard that people celebrated even after his death. And he died at 67 years old. Even after his death, they still celebrated his birthday. And then it went on through the 1800s, through the conflict of the Civil War and what that caused. And then it took a Union general, abolitionist general, to say, we need something that we can all turn to mend this country together. And Rutherford B. Hayes made it a federal holiday to celebrate George Washington, and that became Washington Day. But then they realized that Abraham Lincoln was born 11 days prior, or 10 days prior, and so they started celebrating that together.
Consolidating them all.
And then in 1971, the federal government said we need 3 days for a weekend. So they celebrated all of our presidents.
There you go. So, and what should people reflect on? I mean, you've given us some sense of why it's important to remember our presidents, but what do you think people should take away from it being just a long weekend?
Well, I think we all come from different backgrounds. We have different viewpoints of life. We have different viewpoints of family, of government, of business, how those interact. And we're all in this melting pot that we call the United States that was founded
That's right.
during the Revolutionary War, which, by the way, I'm going to segue over here. We're getting ready to celebrate our 250th anniversary
Exactly, yeah.
of
amazing.
America, right?
It's amazing.
250 years ago, we were in a conflict that birthed this nation, and we are now, looked at as a beacon of hope and a beacon of light,
Right.
all because of those things that happened 250 years ago.
Absolutely.
George Washington was very much the leader of that.
Yes.
And when we come together, when we think about the melting pot of America and how we come every 4 years to elect a president, and we elect our politicians to speak on our behalf. Not that the politicians should be dictating to us like a king, right?
Right. Sure.
The government rests with the people.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed.
And they give the power over to their elected officials to speak on their behalf. And that is the beauty of America
I
that
love
we celebrate.
That. I think that's a wonderful note to end on. I want to make sure that everybody knows about your comics and your podcast. Where can they find both?
Historymanpodcast.com, and on there you'll find a link to our comic books
Terrific.
and our podcast.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate
it. We're back after this.